Approval of the minutes from our previous meeting, which was November 21st, 2024. Anybody want to make a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second? I'll second. Okay, there we go. Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Five affirmative. I think Cindy had sent out the administrative report. Any questions on the last one? I know really just kind of here on a special meeting, but, so moving on, it looks like we got to do election of officers.
Great. I'll nominate Matt Gillock to be president of the Planning Commission.
Not with that comment from earlier.
I second that motion.
Just, do we do it each individually?
Yes.
Right, okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I guess four, because I'm assuming I don't vote for myself, right?
You can vote for yourself.
Okay,
Yeah,
five.
No, there's no conflict there.
Okay. Yes, vice president.
I nominate Christy Ward for vice president.
Second.
It's not hard, I promise. There's nothing you gotta do. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Five affirmative. She's like, all right.
What just happened? Aye.
Oh.
Sure.
What just happened?
Yeah.
It's really easy.
Okay.
Unless I'm just not here, then you get to hit the thing.
Ooh, I get to play with that.
Yes.
crap.
All right. There is no old business, I'm assuming, from anybody?
Do we have a full BZA?
We are short one here and one there.
And the opening of the BZA, is that a planning commission appointment?
We're gonna give you all that stuff. It's just fuzzy. I can't answer that
Okay.
for sure.
I just thought if it is, we have an opportunity tonight with everybody here to fill that position, but
No one's been a letter. Christie talked about
is it,
someone in.
right now, the people who are
I
on
don't
the
think he
No,
BZA,
he can't.
do they,
Because he was on it.
are there planning commission members on the BZA right now?
I'm on it.
You are. Who's our other planning commission member on the
It used to
BZA?
be Chris Compantini. He was on both boards.
I was gonna say, if you remember right, I think Dwayne and I were, but we weren't allowed to because on the
Yeah,
BZA we're
I
not
changed my
allowed
mind
to.
about that. I changed my mind about that.
Now, today.
But you don't live in New Island.
That right? I don't live in New
But
Island.
you do, so you could.
No, he doesn't live in New Island either.
Yeah. Oh, you don't? Well then, okay. Well then, it's not about you.
I think that's why we had to get off there because we weren't
Oh,
on New Island.
well then I was right. I don't change my mind. Okay,
Okay.
then we can't do it
Good.
tonight.
Good. We will say, like I said, we're short one here, so if anybody knows anybody,
What is the party status that they have to be?
For the BZA, there isn't one.
Okay.
For here, you can't have more than two of the same political party.
So was Chris Republican? Is it a Republican slot that's open or no?
I don't know.
Say that again?
I think it's Republican, but I'm not sure.
You can't have more than two
I'm an
of the
independent,
same
yes.
political party.
Because the Republican was for them.
So what you
We-
end up
we
with,
may be in
what you end
trouble
up
there.
with in Indiana is people lying, or you have somebody claiming to be an independent and really is one, or something like that, but you get it done that way. But
we may
That's
be
how
in
it
trouble,
works.
I'm assuming, at that point. We may have too many certain affiliation in right now, I would assume.
I don't know. That's a question I don't ask real hard.
Okay.
But anyway, that's not on your agenda.
Okay.
I wandered off. Just thinking we might have
Yes.
an opportunity to do something, but we don't.
All right, new business. I know you both have walked in, I think during the council meeting, I don't know at what time you walked in, but, Bob Downey had put his resignation in. His last day was April 4th, right? And a few weeks prior to that, Tim Brown, who was doing, some of the building inspection stuff, he had put his resignation in as well. So right now, we do not have anybody as a zoning administrator or a building inspector for the town right now. Even without this new subdivision, right now, it's not going in, but we have multiple other projects, the Sawmill Wood projects that they're building on the school. We've got, I believe, 5 more houses right now in Brownstone that are gonna be needing inspections and things like that.
And
So
then
it's-
isn't the new housing addition is going to need it too, right?
It will, but we're still pretty far out as far as from that side of things. But it's something that I think we actually have inspections that were supposed to be scheduled for today that have had to be postponed, I believe, or sometime this week, right? That we were gonna do.
The one that Tim Brown was supposed to do today. just-
I would assume he didn't after the conversation we had, but, so.
They submitted a new application today.
So, but anyways, that's basically why we're here today, and I had taken it just upon whenever I found out Bob had done it, just trying to figure out how to fill this position either as a long-term solution or even a short-term for right now till we figure something out. Reached out to some consulting firms that we've used for engineering stuff. To a few of them, only one of them come back that really even offers that type of a service, and that's GRW Engineering. They've got a person on staff that does planning stuff, as they review permits, plans, all that stuff, and then they've got the way I would take it is it sounds almost kind of more like on a subcontractor role from GRW side for inspectors, but they've got a handful of inspectors throughout central Indiana that they can call upon to do stuff. They've actually got two of them here one in Greenwood for sure right now, and we're supposed to be interviewing actually another one this week is what the lady was telling me. So at least on the short term, that was kind of what I was thinking. To kind of give you an idea on permit review and inspection fees, they are at $135 an hour is what they're at. Now what I'll tell you is so I talked to her because I'm like, well, our fee schedule does not, basically we would be losing money if we did it. So that's something we're going to have to work with them to get our fee schedule up to par, to I guess take these fees on. I had talked with her because I wanted to see, okay, how long does what's an inspection for a footer inspection? Different things like that. And she had broke down that on a normal basis, that's roughly about 30 minutes is what they're saying. So they charge in 15-minute increments is how they would charge. So that's kind of where I'm at with it as far as trying to bring that to you all. They do have another thing in this contract for planning services. It's at $150 an hour, but I think that is more based towards looking at like preliminary plats, some of your bigger things, which again isn't something that isn't out that we may not need them to do, but it's not something that's going to be on a regular basis like an inspection would be.
I guess my question would be, are they gonna show up to these meetings like Tim, which?
So we talked with the lady 2 days ago. She said she is more than welcome to come to any meeting that we want to do. Her name is Deb. She's kind of the one that heads this program up for GRW. They would be at any meeting we would want them to be. If we don't want them to be at one, obviously when they're here, we're paying them to be here. So if there ends up being a need, say a developer comes in and, with a preliminary plat and things like that, they would come in, I'm sure, and try to help through that process and all that stuff.
So, along the lines of what you just asked, Matt and I were talking earlier today on trying to figure out how all of that process would work, because at that point we wouldn't have technically a zoning administrator, and I don't know that we would want to give, and these are going to be questions for Lee, the authority or to GRW to go through and act as the zoning administrator on the town of New Whiteland's behalf. I think that's kind of, in my opinion, it might be kind of foolish to do that. And don't know the possibility of at that point assigning the plan commission president as the zoning administrator to be able to sign off on drawings and things like that once it comes back approved from GRW, as well as then that person can reach out to GRW and to get a report and all that type of stuff that could be assimilated to all of the plan commission members.
So I guess question on that then for me, Leon, what would be the negatives, or if there's any negatives or positives of making GRW as that as well, besides doing the inspection role as a zoning administrator? I'm assuming I agree with Dwayne that I don't know that we want to give that full role.
Well, even under our ordinance, the definition of a zone administrator also means building inspector, and I don't think we need to get caught up in titles. I think it's more a matter of what services do you want to perform, and it makes sense to me that you would contract with them to do permit review and inspections. That is the task that is performed by the zone administrator / building inspector for New Whiteland. They, as the engineer doing that, are going to have to sign off on it. They're going to have to communicate to somebody that the permit is approved or it has passed the inspection. I think it's more efficient for them to be signing those forms of the town directly rather than communicating to Matt that, yes, we think it's fine, so you go ahead and sign it.
Okay.
Because they're ultimately communicating their approval. They might as well do it in the form of a signature on the form.
Wouldn't you want their name, the other one liable for saying it's good?
Ultimately, that maybe makes them more directly responsible for the
something
review
that
of it.
fails, yes.
Yeah.
They signed off on it.
And I personally would, from that side of it, I personally would rather them do that than it be, because
Okay.
again, I don't have credentials to tell you that they're right. I'm just trusting them anyways. I just didn't know if it would cause any issues, or, you know how I am, doom and gloom type of thing where, okay, can they go through and basically do things that they want to see done and not follow something? Obviously, we could cancel a contract with them if we see that.
No, I mean, they can't. They don't have any authority to deviate from the ordinance or rewrite the ordinance or change the specs. I think that they always, like anybody else who is reviewing something, if they want to exercise judgment and leniency, just like a referee calling a foul in the Final Four. I mean, we may not agree with them, and they might do it the way we would want, but that would be all that they could.
Okay, that makes sense. I mean, and I was even, that STEM thing, that makes perfect sense, because just like when with the plat stuff, us as the plan commission had to give the zoning administrator approval for that task anyway. So,
well, and I think about it too. It is unusual and a departure from what we're used to, that we're talking about contracting with a firm, with an engineering firm, a company to do this task. But at the end of the day, it's somebody.
Well, it's really no different than what we had with
no
Tim
different.
Guy or Tim Brown. It's
It's no
almost like
different.
it was just their business.
And in their case, we had it with Tim and then Tim, and then because it was just one of them in each case. But it's just going to be one person performing the task with regard to each separate permit and each separate inspection here. And we never worried a thing about one of the prior ones saying, yeah, it looks okay to me, Matt signed off on it.
Yeah,
we have to
just a
sign
little
off on
bit,
it. So I don't think in that sense, we're not doing anything any different than we ever did.
Okay.
What we're doing here is saying we're going to engage with this firm to use their people to perform the role of inspector and permit reviewer like we have always done in the past. And if that's okay with everybody, what we need to do tonight is a motion and a vote to contract with GRW Engineering to provide these services. I would give to Matt a discretion to oversee their services to execute whatever documents may be necessary in order to facilitate this role and get that done. We're not bound to these people forever. If this works well in 6 months, if we find somebody who comes along and says, I want to be that guy who used to do this for you, and we like that better, then okay, we can terminate this. I think one of the things we wanted to make sure of is that we could terminate whenever we wanted, and we can. And then I think the other thing we need to do is agree that we're going to increase our permit review and inspection fees to cover the additional costs. And I would also ask that you would delegate to Matt authority to develop a new revised fee schedule based on conversations he has with them on what they actually think the hourly rate will translate into for an inspection. or a permit review, and then ultimately submit that to the town council for them to approve.
Okay, that was gonna be my
That's what
next
we
question,
need to
was
do.
how that
Well, what our
works.
ordinance tells us is that's approved by the plan commission and the town council. And I would suggest that the plan commission as a committee delegate to Matt the authority to develop and approve of that fee schedule and send it on to the council so we can get that implemented without having to come back around and have another meeting. That make sense?
Yeah. Who's gonna regulate and keep track of, to guarantee that the hours that they're charging is correct?
Well,
Because, I mean, I was always kind of confused on how I like Tim Brown, I've known him forever. How he worked a full-time job and how he could still do what he was doing here. What hours did he work here? I mean, what did he,
I was say most of it was after, and I think that's why, with Bob was trying to perform stuff and Tim was trying to train him on different things, and some of the smaller stuff Bob was trying to take care of throughout the day.
yeah. I just know how sometimes inspections can be, and
Oh,
I was
yeah.
like, how is Tim doing it?
Yeah.
And doing it thorough.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I think that is some of the reason why he resigned, because he didn't feel he was doing the town a service with what he was providing.
Well, and I will also say that is the reason that we are looking out from this, because we recognize the fact that there is a need for a change in some of the process, and this is an opportunity to take that on.
Well, and it's also one of the things too. One of the big things I thought of is, like with Tim Brown stuff. We had a retainer we paid. I don't know exactly what it was, but this year, if we don't have anything going on in town, we're not paying a full-time employee or a retainer or anything, because it's just an hourly charge. So if nothing's going on, we're not paying anybody. If we're paying somebody to do it, as long as our fees, which they will be, up to par for that, really we're not spending any more money.
But are we taking into account of how long some of these meetings can go?
They should come to meetings.
I would
There's no
assume they
reason for any of
really
these
won't,
ever to come
unless
to
it's
meetings.
something we just have to.
In fact, there was no reason for Tim Guy or Tim Brown to ever come to meetings.
Okay.
They never offered anything, they
did
never
that
told
on
us
their own,
anything,
and
they
they
just
didn't
sat
pay
there
for those.
and waited and hoped the meeting would get over quickly. But we never asked anything of them, and it was a custom, and we just stuck with it. But if we think back on it, why did we?
Yeah,
ever have a meeting?
I would agree. I mean, I know
They
that there
can
was
submit the report.
questions and things like that there could
But
be,
there
but it was
almost never
very,
were.
very rare.
And,
So-
and in zoning hearings and all, they don't act as a staff doing a review of a petition and submitting a staff report. They never did that part.
Right.
And we could ask this firm to do that if we thought there was a need to. But, and with regard to the big zoning case we had most recently, which was the PUD, GRW did serve that role,
Right.
right?
Yeah, they're the ones
So-
that really serve majority.
So I
of
would
those.
say just don't have them come to meetings. And if there's a unique situation that presents itself and we think it would be helpful to have them there, we'll ask them to come. But routinely, that should not be a part of the meetings going forward.
Right.
I think.
That was kind of my thought as well.
So that all said, I'm gonna make a motion. I'm gonna make a motion that we approve GRW to provide the services inside this, develop the fee schedule, as well as the plan commission giving you authorization to approve and take to the council the said fee schedule to put into effect. Does that make sense?
You've done real good.
It did, thank you.
I'm gonna second that motion.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? 5 affirmative. That's it on the agenda. Anything else you want to bring up? Anything like that? All right.
Is there any way that the full plan commission, all the members, could get one of these here shirts so y'all would?
We got a jacket. Do we got a jacket? Do we try to, that he didn't like today? We could give him a jacket. All
So, wait,
I have lots of that color, I just don't wear it anymore.
right.
don't hit that. I do have another question. We do have we do not have it tonight, but we still got the garage sale ordinance that we need to, that we have been putting off, that we need to address.
attorney needs to come back around with that some of these days.
Yeah.
Well, we'll just make sure you have it for 6 months when we have another.
Well, the only reason I'm saying is we're coming right up on garage sale season.
Tis the
and-
season.
Maybe not. Not if
Tis the
it's
season.
weather
Okay.
stays the way it is.
Actually, I do have other things.
Here we go. Just
And
like
this,
every other
and
meeting.
this could be, I can close the meeting. All
Is
right.
it about water runoff?
Close the meeting. Nope. I'll close. I got a question for you.
Oh.
I mean, it